Oh, Sarah, bless your heart, Olivia had cooed, patting my arm a little too hard. We were at Ethan's niece's birthday party, a chaotic affair of sugar-fueled children and the cloying scent of cheap perfume. So brave, still living in that condo. You poor thing. Poor thing. That's what they all thought. Sarah, the perpetually single IT consultant with health issues, a polite euphemism for the chronic digestive nonsense that haunted my life. They saw the condo as a burden, a relic of some bygone era. They didn't see the seven-figure revenue streams, the AI startups, the digital fortress I'd built to keep my success hidden. I smiled, a practiced gesture of weary amusement. "It's home," I said, my voice carefully neutral. Meanwhile, Olivia was live streaming the party on her social media, which, ironically, was the very platform I supported. I had provided her with the high-speed internet that powered her influencer brand, a daily reminder of her cluelessness. The irony was almost too delicious. I watched her, and I knew that any day the dam would break. 5 years ago, the rot began. Ethan's string of failed ventures left him, and Olivia financially crippled. They came, hat in hand, to my door. "Just for a little while," Ethan had pleaded, his voice laced with a familiar desperation. I, being the responsible sibling, offered them my condo, rent-free. That's where the seeds of deception were sown. It started subtly. Hints about my comfortable lifestyle. Then, the expectation that I should fund their next brilliant idea. Olivia's constant complaints, punctuated by her subtle digs, started to grate on my nerves. She'd remark about the outdated kitchen, the lack of space, making sure I heard every snide remark. The pivotal moment came, a seemingly innocuous exchange that crystallized everything. I overheard Olivia, on the phone with her mother, detailing her frustrations. "It's like living in a time capsule," she'd sniffed, referring to my condo. And Sarah, well, she could easily afford a place 10 times the size, but her voice trailed off, implying a deliberate stinginess on my part. That was it. That was the moment I chose secrecy. It wasn't an immediate decision, but the gears started turning. The next day, I was on the phone with my financial advisor, redirecting investments, building a digital wall around my assets. I started keeping details of my projects and their success away from my brother and his wife, creating a shield around my true wealth. My early successes were deliberately hidden. My first investment in an AI-driven marketing platform, which eventually yielded a 300% return within the first year, was a secret. I'd celebrate with a quiet glass of wine, knowing that if I had revealed even a fraction of my success, it would have been a feeding frenzy. I remember the early days of my consultancy, cold calling potential clients, closing deals, and building a reputation. All the while, my brother and his wife dismissed my work as a hobby. They didn't understand the intricacies of coding, the value of data analytics, or the potential of a well-placed investment. I built a portfolio of successful tech ventures. The AI startup I backed, for example, had a projected valuation of $25 million. The digital security firm, a 50% stake, was about to close a deal with the Department of Defense. This was all kept a secret. I found a grim satisfaction in the contrast between their assumptions and my reality. I was even on the board of a successful blockchain startup and secretly advised them on all of their early marketing campaigns. Meanwhile, Olivia would sit with me over lunch, excitedly discussing her next social media campaign, unaware that her friend was the company's silent owner. I was happy to provide the home, the support, and the resources, but in return I wanted the illusion of normality. I wanted to be a quiet, slightly quirky aunt who was always there to help and not someone who could easily solve all their problems. Then came the medical crisis. The constant pain, the endless doctor's appointments, the mounting bills. It was draining, both physically and financially. When I asked for some help, Olivia's cold rejection and her announcement of remodeling my condo were the final nails in the coffin. I had to act. The day they served me hospital food, a bland chicken breast and watery vegetables, was the same day Claire, my real estate attorney, called. "Sarah, I've found something concerning." Her voice was carefully neutral, a professional shield I recognized. I felt a chill despite the hospital's sterile heat. The call was a long time coming. Claire's investigation had unearthed a fraudulent transfer of the condo deed. Olivia had forged my signature, leveraging the power of a notary to remove my name. The documents were irrefutable. I'd been systematically stripped of my property without my knowledge or consent. The audacity was breathtaking. The next day, I gathered Ethan, Olivia, and a few others. Ethan, his face a mask of bewildered innocence, was predictably useless. Olivia, in a tailored power suit that likely cost more than my monthly mortgage, remained defiant. "There must be some mistake," Ethan stammered. "There's no mistake." Claire's voice was calm, unwavering. She laid out the evidence: the altered signatures, the tampered notary stamp, the forged power of attorney. The screen displayed the legal documents. I watched their faces crumble, the shock, the disbelief, the flicker of fear. Olivia's facade finally cracked. Her carefully constructed image as a successful social media influencer was shattered, replaced by the raw, ugly truth. The carefully cultivated persona was built on lies. All the social media influencers and marketing campaigns were built on stolen success. Ethan, finally understanding the severity of the situation, did a clumsy dance of distancing himself, offering hollow apologies. He knew he was complicit. The rest of my family, once dismissive, now suddenly sought my favor. Their eyes held a mixture of fear and newfound respect. They saw the success they'd always denied. The condo was a shell of its former self. It was my home, my haven, a space I had built for myself. The thought of them taking it was a violation. I chose to let them continue their charade, but not without consequence. I allowed Olivia to continue her social media campaigns, knowing that each post, each like, each follower was a nail in her coffin. Each renovation was another step further from my true home. Each like was a victory for me. I let the law take its course. The aftermath was a chaotic blend of emotions. Ethan and I were estranged, the bond broken beyond repair. Some of my nieces, however, started to seek me out, asking questions, offering hesitant apologies. I used the restitution money to painstakingly restore my condo, reclaiming my space, my identity. I invested in quality materials, designed a modern space. My IT consultancy thrived. My AI startups were surpassing their projections. The digital security firm was making waves in the industry. I had a seat at the table, and I was no longer afraid to use it. I was finally living openly, embracing my success without apology. I found a deep, abiding peace in my chosen family. Claire, with her unwavering loyalty, and Marcus, my business partner who had always believed in me, became the anchors in my life. Surrounded by them, in my beautifully restored kitchen, I knew I had found what truly mattered. Kindness wasn't weakness. My quiet strength had been forged in the crucible of betrayal. My success was no longer a secret, but a testament to resilience, integrity, and the enduring power of the human spirit. The final straw arrived not in the form of a legal document or a dramatic confrontation, but in a seemingly innocuous invitation, a launch party for Olivia's new lifestyle brand. The venue, my condo. I stared at the glittering invitation, the gold lettering a stark contrast to the stark reality of Olivia's actions. It felt like a slap in the face, the ultimate act of disrespect. The invitation listed my address, but the name of the owner was now different. The party was a carefully orchestrated event, a showcase of Olivia's curated life. Designers were hired. Expensive champagne flowed. A fleet of influencers and social media stars were in attendance. I watched, from a distance, as my home was transformed. The evening progressed with all of the forced gaiety of a reality TV show. Olivia, radiant in a designer gown, held court, her voice a constant stream of platitudes and self-promotion. Ethan, hovering nearby, attempted to look supportive. I watched and I waited. I had planned the unveiling meticulously, coordinating with Claire and the authorities. The launch party, ironically, provided the perfect opportunity. The timing was critical. The location, ideal. As the evening reached its peak, the crowd gathered in the living room, anticipating Olivia's grand speech. She raised her glass, her eyes scanning the room, taking it all in. "To new beginnings," she proclaimed, her voice ringing with false confidence. As she began to speak, I walked into the living room. The air crackled with unspoken tension. I stood there, perfectly still, a ghost in my own home. I locked eyes with Olivia. Her smile faltered, her carefully constructed facade beginning to crack. She saw the unwavering gaze of my eyes. The game was about to change. "Before we continue," I said, my voice clear and strong, "I have something to share." Silence. A collective intake of breath rippled through the room. Olivia's carefully sculpted smile melted, her jaw clenched. The champagne glass trembled in her hand. Ethan's face paled, his eyes darting between me and Olivia. The room, moments before buzzing with shallow chatter, fell deathly quiet. "This is unexpected," Olivia stammered, her voice betraying a tremor she couldn't quite conceal. I held up a hand, silencing her. "Not unexpected, Olivia. Inevitable." Claire, standing at the back of the room, gave a subtle nod. Her presence was a silent promise of justice. "For years," I began, my voice resonating with a quiet authority that surprised even myself, "I have watched, and I have waited." I turned my gaze toward the group, letting my eyes linger on each face. The influencers, the aspiring socialites, the hangers on all of them were suddenly aware of the shifting ground beneath their feet. Their carefully constructed masks of admiration and envy began to slip. They were witnessing a collision of worlds, the carefully curated facade of Olivia's manufactured success versus the reality of her deceit. You all know Olivia as a successful entrepreneur, a social media guru. What many of you don't know is that her success, her lifestyle, her very existence is built on a foundation of lies. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the crowd. Ethan took a step back, his face a mixture of shame and fear. "This condo," I continued, gesturing around the opulent space, "was once mine. It was my sanctuary, my home, until it was stolen from me." I watched Olivia. Her cheeks flushed a furious red. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape, a lifeline. She knew what was coming. "Stolen by whom?" Olivia hissed, attempting a false bravado. I ignored her, turning instead to the crowd. "Olivia forged my signature. She manipulated legal documents. She fraudulently transferred the deed to this property, effectively stealing my home." Claire stepped forward, holding up a file. The legal documents, the forged signatures, the revoked notary stamp, all of it was there, laid bare for everyone to see. The truth was undeniable. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, and accusations filled the air. The influencers, the carefully crafted image of social media stars, were exposed. The veneer of their carefully constructed reality was shattered. Olivia lunged, her face contorted with rage. "Lies, all lies," she screamed, her voice cracking. She turned to Ethan, desperation etched onto her face. "Tell them it's not true." Ethan finally met my gaze, his eyes filled with shame. He had never seen such rage in Olivia. He said nothing. He could no longer deny the truth. Then the police arrived. The carefully planned execution of justice was playing out perfectly. The party, once a celebration of Olivia's success, became a scene of chaos and humiliation. The influencers, their faces contorted with shock and betrayal, scrambled for an exit. The champagne, once a symbol of celebration, was now a reminder of the lies that had poisoned the evening. As Olivia was being led away, she turned to me, her eyes blazing with hatred. "You'll regret this, Sarah, you'll regret this." I met her gaze, my own expression calm, resolute. "No, Olivia, I won't." I turned my back on the chaos and sought out Claire and Marcus. Their familiar presence was a balm in the storm. They were my family, the people who truly mattered. The ensuing days were a blur of legal proceedings, media scrutiny, and awkward family gatherings. Ethan, humbled and contrite, sent a series of increasingly desperate texts and voicemails. I ignored them. Other family members, previously distant, suddenly discovered a newfound interest in my well-being, offering assistance and expressing their deep regret. Their sudden attentiveness felt less like genuine concern and more like a desperate attempt to curry favor. I politely declined their offers, preferring the quiet solitude of my own company. The media coverage was initially sensational, focusing on the social media influencer who had defrauded her own family. The narrative soon shifted, however, to a more nuanced portrayal of the situation. Articles began to appear, highlighting my business acumen, my resilience, and the quiet dignity with which I had handled the betrayal. The headline in a local newspaper read, "From invisible executive to victorious visionary." I allowed the legal process to unfold, watching with a detached amusement as Olivia's carefully constructed world crumbled around her. Her social media accounts, once a source of envy, were now flooded with negative comments and accusations. Her brand, once a symbol of aspiration, was tainted by the stench of fraud. The restitution money, a significant sum, was used to fully restore my condo, to transform it into a space that was truly mine. The kitchen, the heart of the home, was renovated with the latest appliances, designed to be both functional and beautiful. I chose the countertops, the backsplash, the lighting, every detail a testament to my own taste, my own success, my own hard-won independence. I hired an interior designer. The condo wasn't just a home, it was a statement. A statement of my strength, my resilience, my unwavering belief in myself. The remodeling became a symbol of my triumph. Ethan, after the initial flurry of apologies, attempted to reconcile. One afternoon, he showed up on my doorstep, clutching a bouquet of wilting flowers. "Sarah, please," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "I know I messed up. Olivia, she manipulated me. I'm so sorry." I looked at him, at the familiar face, the lines of regret etched around his eyes. I saw the man I had loved as a child, the man I had always strived to protect. But I also saw the man who had allowed himself to be blinded by Olivia's greed, the man who had been complicit in my own downfall. "Ethan," I said, my voice gentle but firm, "I forgive you, but I can't forget." The words hung in the air, a finality that neither of us could ignore. I closed the door. After the ordeal, I found myself drawn closer to those who truly mattered. Claire, who had been my rock throughout the crisis, became an even more integral part of my life. Marcus, my business partner, offered unwavering support and encouragement, celebrating my success with genuine joy. We celebrated our successes together. My nieces, initially hesitant, began to tentatively reach out, asking questions, seeking advice. They were young, impressionable, and eager to understand the complexities of the world. I, in turn, found myself embracing a new role, a mentor, a guide, a source of strength and inspiration. Their curiosity and desire for connection offered a glimmer of hope. One evening, a few months after the trial, I hosted a small dinner party. Claire and Marcus were there, as were my nieces. As we sat around the table, sharing stories and laughter, I realized that my life had been irrevocably transformed. I was no longer the invisible executive, hiding in the shadows. I was Sarah, the woman who had faced betrayal and emerged victorious. I raised my glass. "To new beginnings," I said, my voice filled with a quiet confidence. "To family, chosen and otherwise." The final image, a photograph of me, laughing with Claire and Marcus, the restored kitchen gleaming in the background. On the counter, a new painting, a vibrant cityscape, the skyline shimmering with possibility. The painting was a gift from my nieces. A small gesture, a symbol of connection, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and healing could flourish. It felt like a new beginning. The aftermath was a strange tapestry of the expected and the unforeseen. Ethan, ostracized by the family, kept his distance, his shame a visible weight. My phone, once silent, now buzzed with messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all suddenly eager to catch up and offer unsolicited business advice. I handled the sudden attention with a weary grace, recognizing the insincerity behind the overtures. Their sudden interest in my life was a stark contrast to the years of dismissiveness, and I found myself amused more than offended. My professional life, however, flourished. The publicity, though initially unwanted, had a surprising effect. It turned out that potential investors were drawn to my story, the narrative of a woman who had overcome adversity and built her empire in secret. My consultancy received a surge of new clients, eager to work with someone with a proven track record and a compelling backstory. The AI startups I'd invested in began to gain traction, fueled by my newfound public visibility. The most unexpected consequence was the shift in my relationship with my nieces. They had witnessed the collapse of their parents' carefully constructed facade. Their initial confusion soon turned to curiosity and a desire to understand. They started visiting, asking about my work, my life, the secrets I'd kept. They saw my success as a source of admiration. I found myself drawn to them, to their innocent questions and their genuine interest. I started sharing my experiences, not just the triumphs, but also the challenges. I spoke openly about the importance of integrity, the value of hard work, and the courage it took to stand up for oneself. They became my chosen family, a constant reminder that genuine connection could be found in the most unexpected places. The condo, now fully restored, became my sanctuary. The kitchen, the heart of the home, was a testament to my own taste and hard-won independence. I spent hours there, cooking, reading, and simply enjoying the peace and quiet. It was a space that was truly mine, a tangible representation of my triumph. The challenges, of course, remained. The sting of betrayal never completely faded. I still occasionally felt a phantom ache, a reminder of the pain inflicted by those closest to me. But the pain was no longer paralyzing. It was a part of my story, a lesson learned, a source of strength. Living openly came with its own set of complexities. There were moments of awkwardness, of feeling exposed. The constant attention could be draining, the expectations overwhelming. But I learned to navigate these challenges with a newfound confidence, a recognition that my success was earned, and I had no need to apologize for it. The painting in my restored kitchen, a vibrant cityscape that now hangs on the wall, serves as a daily reminder of my journey, a testament to the strength that came from the ashes. As I look towards the future, I no longer see a life of solitude and secrecy. My life is now open, filled with genuine connections and a sense of purpose. My story, however, isn't done. There are still many chapters to write. The final chapter is where I get to decide the legacy I want to leave. The cost of the silence was a gilded cage, a fortress built on the shards of what was lost. The easy camaraderie, the unquestioning trust, the illusion of a unified family. But in its place stood a kingdom of my own making, a testament to resilience forged in the fires of betrayal. Success wasn't merely financial, but a quiet rebellion against those who underestimated me. It was the freedom to choose my own path, to define my own worth, to find solace in the company of those who saw me, truly saw me. The reward? Peace, hard-won and fiercely guarded. I stand here now, in the heart of my restored home, bathed in the soft glow of the kitchen, surrounded by the faces of my chosen family, a smile playing on my lips. Look around you. Have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever had your worth be denied? Because the truth is, we all have a story.